The FBI continues to try their best to cover up the Biden crime family FD1023, and Congress was not having it. We've got clips from 3 different senators, Ted Cruz, Blackburn, and Hawley, deputy directors from the FBI in front of Congress, and here is what it sounded like.
Last month, a whistleblower brought to light the existence in the FBI of a report, an FD1023, in which the informant alleges that President Biden and his family members engaged in a $5 million bribery scheme during his time as vice president. Deputy Director Abbate, is it true that the FBI has a report making those allegations?
I'm not going to comment on that, Senator.
And why is that?
Just not going to comment on information we received, investigations.
Do you owe an obligation to the American people to be candid about evidence of corruption by the President of the United States?
You investigate things in America?
This is an area that I'm not going to get into with you, Senator.
Well, I understand you don't want to, and that's why people are mad at the FBI, because you're stonewalling and covering up serious allegations of evidence of corruption from the President. Yesterday, Senator Chuck Grassley stood on the Senate floor and alleged that there are 17 recordings of this informant from Burisma, Ukrainian natural gas company. 15 of them are recordings, voice recordings of him talking to Hunter Biden. 2 of them are voice recordings of him talking to Joe Biden. Deputy Director Abbate, does the FBI have 17 voice recordings laying out evidence of a bribery scheme?
Senator, I would add also that we've worked with the House Oversight Committee.
Yeah, this is the Senate. We're the other side of the Capitol. This is the Senate. Do you have those 17 recordings?
I'm not going to comment on any investigative matters.
Get your markers out.
See, that's the problem. The FBI, and I've had this conversation with Chris Wray too, this is why you are damaging the institution. The American people have a right to know whether there is serious, credible evidence that the President of the United States took a $5 million bribe. And by the way, if it's false, Chairman Durbin just rolled his eyes.
Wow.
If Chairman Durbin were interested in the rule of law, we would have a hearing on these allegations. But of course, the Democrats don't want a hearing on these allegations. And to be clear, if the allegations are false, you know who could disprove them? Joe Biden. He could call for this to be released publicly. But the FBI is stonewalling. Would you agree?
2 things, Senator. No one's stonewalling. The 1023
you just said you refused to answer the question.
In response to a subpoena.
Okay, then why'd you refuse to answer my question?
The pertinent information is there, and I reject your assertion that the FBI is politicized.
Why did you refuse to answer my question?
I just answered your question.
Okay, so yes, you have a 1023. Do you have the 17 recordings, yes or no?
I'm not going to get further into that.
So you're stonewalling. You can't say I'm not refusing to answer your question, but I won't answer your question.
I'm going to answer within the parameters that we operate in. Here.
That's the problem. The FBI has right now an unlimited hubris that you believe you are unaccountable.
They are.
You don't believe you're accountable to the United States Congress.
They aren't.
And you don't believe you're accountable to the American people.
They aren't. They're
and
unelected.
You are doing damage. The FBI is a great institution. When I go home to Texas, people ask me, should we abolish the FBI?
Yes.
Now, I tell them no, because you have heroes and patriots working for you that are catching child predators, that are catching terrorists.
Not at the top.
But you're sitting there happily erecting a wall to protect Joe Biden. Will you provide to this committee, not the House, the Senate Judiciary Committee, will you provide the FD1023 and will you provide the 17 recordings so we can assess what is the evidence, the specific credible evidence that Joe Biden personally took a $5 million bribe from a foreign national?
Senator, we will work with this committee, you and other members, to provide the information within the parameters of the process.
Will you provide the FD1023, yes or no?
I will take that back and we will work with our team.
So you're not answering that. Will you provide the 17 recordings?
We will take that back and we'll work with you.
So you're not answering that either. Did you investigate in any way, shape, or form these allegations?
Senator, once again, I'm not going to comment.
So you're not going to say whether you did your job?
We do our job to the very best of our ability.
Well, not here. You're not answering a single question to the American people. And you may think this is esoteric. I promise you, millions of Americans are concerned. You know who isn't concerned? Not a single Senate Democrat. We're going to go through this whole hearing. Not one Democrat will ask a question about this. You know who else isn't concerned? The corporate media, who is joining with the Democrats in covering up this evidence.
$5 million bribe to the sitting president.
The evidence should be made public and demonstrate that he's innocent. But if he is not, is it true this informant who alleged that he personally took a bribe was an informant the FBI had relied upon previously in other investigations? Yes or no?
In each and every investigation that we have, all the work that we do,
I asked you a yes or no
expectation
question.
is that every logical avenue investigation be pursued
I asked you a
to
yes
its
or no
fullest.
question. Are you going to answer it?
I'm answering your question.
Was the informant one you had relied on previously in other investigations? Yes or no?
Senator, we run down every piece of information, every
You're not
lead,
answering it then. You're refusing to answer
objectively,
it. So you're refusing to answer the
to
question.
the fullest extent possible,
refusing to answer the question.
relentlessly,
Is that
and
correct?
aggressively in all instances.
Senator, your time
It's
is
disgraceful. It's disgraceful, Director Abbate. Disgraceful.
Deputy Director Abbate. Man, you see how condescending they are to Congress? They don't respect him at all. We've talked about it here. FBI Director Christopher Wray, when he was sitting there in front of Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson last time, he's like, are we done here? I got to get out of here. I got a plane to catch. He said, no, we're coming back here this afternoon. And Wray said, well, I got to get out of here, man. It's the weekend. And so now this director, a deputy director, just sits there. I'm not answering your questions. You're Congress. Ted, who do you think you are? We're the FBI. We run this place. Here's another clip from Blackburn.
Then let me ask you this. You said in your response to Senator Cruz that you and the FBI do your job to the best of your ability.
Okay.
So why don't you tell me what your job is? Is it to defend and shield Joe Biden, or is your job to protect this country and the Constitution of the United States? Which is it?
The job of the FBI is to protect the country, keep people safe, and uphold the Constitution of our great country.
Unless you're a Democrat.
So why
That's what we
Then
work
you
to
don't get
do every day.
prosecuted.
Objectively, there are not two standards of justice. There is only one. It's applied equally to
Practically,
each and
in
every
my
person.
perception, there are two standards, very clear standards of justice in this country. We see it every single day. The American people see this every single day. They look at you and they see a politicized entity that is weaponizing an agency of the federal government against the American people.
That is
They
not the FBI that I
out.
see, Senator.
That is not the FBI. You see, there are a lot of good people that work for the FBI, but you have a political cabal there. So why did you decide to conceal the information in that revelation to the House Oversight Committee? Why did you redact all of that into the phone calls?
We have exceptional people within the in
You're
the
not
FBI,
answering the
very
question.
best.
Why did you redact that
And they
information?
work relentlessly every day to keep this
You
country
chose
safe
not
and
to
to protect
reveal
people.
that the
Period.
calls were there, and Senator Grassley found it out anyway. Is that accurate?
With regard to the document,
You chose to redact it, yes or no?
we often redact documents to protect
So you
sources
chose
and
to
methods.
redact
Biden,
the fact
To protect our
that
political
there are
boss, our
17
ally.
voice recordings, 2 of those with the now president. You chose to redact that and not to give that to House Oversight.
I have
Is
no
that
idea
accurate?
if there are voice recordings or not. What I will tell you with respect to the
You have
document,
no-
the document was redacted to protect the source, as everyone knows.
Well, then
and this is
let-
a question.
He's like an angry teenager pouting, right? He's just snubbing his nose at Congress. He's so irritated to be there. He can't even believe he has to answer questions from these people. So condescending. He's bothered to even be there. Oh, you're Congress. Oh, gosh. No, I'm not telling you anything. We redact stuff because you don't know anything. We're the FBI.
Of life
My
and death,
time has
potentially.
expired, but I think it would be helpful if when you came before us, if you were willing to answer the questions, it would help to
It would help.
remove the perception that the American people have, because this is what they see. They see you do it every day.
Yeah, they see
and
this.
that is politicizing the FBI and using it against the American people who don't happen to be named Biden, Clinton, or one of the elites.
Yeah, I remember I used to look like this and kind of talk like this. My mom would be like, no, you can't go over to that, to that party tonight. What are you, nuts? I'd be like, oh, okay, fine. She'd say, how's your school? I'd be like, school's great. Right, yeah. School's fine, right. That's how I'd pout. Yeah, it was great. Thanks for asking, Mom. Yeah. Because my mom wouldn't let me go to a party or something. That's how I was acting. But I was a teenager, I was just a little punk little kid back then. This is a grown adult at the FBI, and he's acting like that. So it's pretty embarrassing, but not a big surprise, because the FBI is turning themselves into a joke. They're doing it to themselves. If they were a legitimate institution, nobody would have criticisms about it, but they're not. They cover up and they prosecute their political opponents, and they call it in the name of justice, which is embarrassing.
Senator Hawley.
Now, this is Senator Hawley, who comes after Blackburn, and he picks up on what she was saying. Here he is. He is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Abbate, let me just stay with you. You just started to answer Senator Blackburn's question that not releasing the 1023 or talking about it as a matter of life and death. Question of life and death, you said.
Wow.
Explain. It is potentially a question of life and death with regard to the source of the information.
Wait a minute. The source of the information. So you can look at his face. He knows it's total BS too. Look at that little tension right there in the bottom right side of the mouth. He knows it's total crap. Protect the source. What are you talking about? He came to you guys, and you could definitely redact his name, but what about the part where the audio recordings are revealed? Why can't you leave that uncovered? Because that is, of course, the big thing they want to cover up.
Explain.
It is potentially a question of life and death
Potentially.
with regard to the source of the information.
So, okay, so now we've confirmed that the document exists. That's progress because the FBI director initially denied that it exists. Why did he do that?
We have already and previously acknowledged the existence of the document.
Took a lot of arm
after you
twisting to
first
do
denied
that.
it. Now, when a member of this committee read it, right, the FBI director, let's just get the record straight. The FBI director initially said it doesn't exist. Then Senator Grassley said, I've read it. Then he said, oh, okay, well, gotcha. I guess it does exist.
Why are you guys lying to us?
Now you're going back and forth with members of this committee what's in it. Why don't you just release it? Is it classified?
The document is not classified.
Okay. Will you commit to releasing it?
Senator, we'll take that back and we will work with you in this committee.
How about just a yes or no? Will you commit to releasing this unclassified document that alleges that the President of the United States has taken $5 million or more in bribes from a foreign nation?
The document has already been released pursuant to a subpoena to the House Oversight Committee.
Has it been released to this committee?
We'll work with this committee.
Did they give him possession?
Within the parameters that are established to meet
Will you
the
release the
request.
document to the public? It's unclassified. Don't you think the American people have a right to see it?
Senator, the document, as you know, contains sensitive information that has bearing on the life of the source of the information, potentially.
You can hide his name.
Redact the source's name.
Yeah.
We do this all the time.
Yeah, but they're not going to do it. They're just going to continue to hide behind my sources and methods and my open investigation, and it's all nonsense. So the FBI, they know that they're actually in charge. They report to Joe Biden. Joe Biden can do whatever he wants now because he's now shattering history, prosecuting his political opponents, and he's going to try to continue to do this because I think this is the only thing they have, honestly. They have failures everywhere else you look. The border's a disaster. Foreign policy is a disaster. Economic policy is looking like it's a disaster. We're going to continue to see what happens, of course, but we hope that Congress continues to put pressure on the FBI. Maybe at some point they'll wake up and realize that they are on the wrong side of history. They are supporting Joe Biden and a criminal cabal that's wrecking the foundation of this country.